Welcome to aminacademy.com. In human anatomy and physiology, let us discuss about large intestine, rectum and anal canal. The large intestine is about 1.5 meters long, beginning at the cecum in the right iliac fossa and terminating at the rectum and anal canal deep within the pelvis. For descriptive purposes, the large intestine is divided into the cecum, colon, sigmoid colon, rectum, and anal canal. The cecum is the first part of the large intestine. It is a dilated region which has a blind end inferiorly and is continuous with the ascending colon superiorly just below the junction of to the iliocacal wall opens from the ileum. The colon has four parts which have the same structure and functions. A ascending colon. This is an ascending colon. This passes upward from the cecum to the level of the liver, where it curves acutely to the left and the hepatic flexure to become the transverse colon. The transverse colon, this part extends across the abdominal cavity in front of the duodenum and the stomach to the area of the spleen, where it forms the splenic flexure and curves acutely downward to become the descending colon. The descending colon, this passes down to the left side of the abdominal cavity, when then curves towards the midline at the level of the iliac crest. It is known as the sigmoid colon. The sigmoid colon, this part describes the S-shaped curve in the pelvic cavity that continues downward to become the rectum. What is the rectum? This is a slightly dilated section of the large intestine, about 13 centimeters long. It leads from the sigmoid colon and terminates in the anal canal. This is the rectum. The anal canal. This is the short passage, about 3.8 centimeter long in the adult, and leads from the rectum to the exterior. Two sphincter muscles control the anus. The internal sphincter consists of smooth muscles under the control of the autonomic nervous system, and the external sphincter formed by skeletal muscle is under voluntary control. What is the structure? The four layers of the tissue described in the basic structure of the gastrointestinal tract are present in the cecum, colon and rectum and the anal canal. The arrangement of the longitudinal muscle fibers is modified in the cecum and colon. They do not form a continuous layer of tissues but are instead collected into the three bands called Taniae coli, which run lengthwise along the cecum and colon. They stop at the junction of the sigmoid colon and the rectum. Next one, blood supply. Arterial supply is mainly by the superior and inferior mesenteric arteries. The superior mesenteric artery supplies the cecum, ascending and most of the transverse colon. The inferior mesenteric artery supplies the remainder of the colon and the proximal part of the rectum. The middle and inferior rectal arteries, branches of the internal iliac arteries, supplies the distal section of the rectum and the anus. function of the large intestine, rectum, and the anal canal. The contents of the ileum, which pass through the ileocacal wall into the cecum, are fluid, even though large amount of water has been absorbed in the small intestine. In the large intestine, absorption of water by osmosis continues until the familiar semi-solid consistency of phases is achieved. Mineral salts, vitamins, and some drugs are also absorbed into blood capillaries from the large intestine. Microbial activities. The large intestine is heavily colonized by certain types of bacteria which synthesize vitamin K and folic acids. They include Escherichia coli, Enterobacter aerogens, Streptococcus facilis, and Clostridium perfringens. These microbes are commensals, that is, normally harmless in humans. However, they may become pathogenic if transferred to another part of the body. Gases in the bowl consist of some of the constituents of air, mainly nitrogen swallowed with food and drink. Hydrogen, carbon dioxide, and methane are produced by bacterial fermentation of unabsorbed nutrients, especially carbohydrates. Gases pass out of the bowl as floods, that is a wind. Mass movement. The large intestine does not exhibit peristaltic movements as in the other part of the digestive tract. Only at fairly long intervals, about twice an hour, does a wave of strong peristalsis sweep along the transverse colon, forcing its content into the descending and sigmoid colons. This is known as mass movement, and it is often precipitated precipitated by the entry of food into the stomach. This combination of stimulus and response is called the gastrolic reflex. Defecation. Usually the rectum is empty, but when a mass movement forces the content of the sigmoid colon into the rectum, the nerve ending and in its walls are stimulated by stretch. In infants, defecation occurs by reflex involuntary actions. However, during the second or third year of life, children develop voluntary control of bowel functions. In practical terms, this acquired voluntary control means that the brain can inhibit the reflex until it is convenient to defecate. The external anal sphincter is under conscious control through the pudendal nerve. This defecation involves involuntary contraction of the muscles of the rectum and relaxation of the internal anal sphincter. Constituents of phases. The phases consist of a semi-solid brown mass. The brown color is due to the presence of stercobilin. Even though the absorption of water takes place in the small and large intestines, water still makes up about 60 to 70% of the weight of the phases. The remainder consists of fiber, indigestible cellular plant and animal materials, dead and live microbes, epithelial cells shed from the wall of the tract, fatty acids, mucus secreted by the epithelial lining of the large intestine. Mucus helps to lubricate the phases, and an inadequate amount of dietary non-starch polysaccharides, NSP fiber, and previously known as roughage, ensures that the contents of the large intestines are sufficiently bulky to stimulate defecation. Now we'll discuss further detail about large intestine, rectum and anal canal here. Look at this. This is a transverse colon, the ascending colon, this is a descending colon, this sigmoid colon and rectum. This is cecum. Now continue the discussion. The large intestine is the final section of the digestive system, which absorbs water from undigested materials. It includes the colon, rectum, and anal canal. The rectum acts as a reservoir of waste, that is stool, which moves into the anal canal before exiting the body through the anus. Large intestine's functions. The primary role is to absorb water and electrolytes from the remaining indigestible food matter and form stool. It also houses the beneficial bacteria that aid in digestion and productive vitamins. Structure. It is a long tube-like organs that connect to the small intestine and ends at the anus, the colon, the longest part, is followed by the rectum and the anal canal. How the rectum functions. The rectum serves as a temporary storage area of the phases that have moved from the colon. It is a distensible reservoir that can expand to hold waste until it is eliminated. Structure. It is the most distal terminal portion of the large intestine and is named for its straight appearance compared to the rest of the GI tract. It is located in the pelvis and ends where it becomes continuous with the anal canal. This is a large intestine colon. Look at this, separately shown. Cecum, transverse colon, ascending colon here, transversing colon, descending colon, sigmoid colon, and rectum and anal canal. The rectum is the final section of the large intestine located in the pelvis that stores feces before they are eliminated from the body. It is responsible for absorbing water and electrolytes, and its muscular walls contract to expel waste during the defecation reflex. The rectum connects to the sigmoid colon above and the anal canal below. What is anal canal? The final segment of the digestive tract. It conveys stool from the rectum to the anus. It contains powerful internal and external sphincter muscles that are crucial for controlling defecation and maintaining continence. It also helps differentiate between solid, liquid, and gas. What about structure? The anal canal is a short, narrow, and about 2.5 to 4.25 centimeter length that ends at the anus, which is that ends with the anus. It will include muscular sphincters that controls its opening. The anal canal is the final section of the large intestine connecting the rectum to the anus. It is a short muscular tube about 2.5 to 4 centimeter long that plays a vital role in controlling bowel movements and holding in phases using the internal and external anal sphincters. What is poop? Poop or feces is a solid or semi-solid waste product of digestion consisting of undigested food, bacteria, and metabolic waste. The color, consistency, smell, and frequency of bowel movement can provide clues about your health. While a healthy poop is typically medium to dark brown, soft to firm, and passed with minimal strain, variation that can be normal depending on diet, but significant or persistent changes in color or other characteristics may indicate and underlying issues. So far, we discussed about the large intestine, rectum, and anal canal. Have done. Please subscribe our YouTube channel.